Have you ever heard the expression, if I had to start over again, I would do X? Well, if I had to start over again and knowing what I know about farming and gardening after 30 years, here's what I would do. The first one is, what would you want to grow or raise? Is it pear trees? Is it grapes? Is it fruit? Is it an orchard? Is it raising chickens or raising cows? Do you want to have a homestead and you want to do all of that? That's so important to understand and to know. What is it you want to do? I usually divide it into two. Is it plant-based or is it animal-based? Do you love working with animals or do you really love being around plants? That distinction is a really important early start because it will determine what kind of property is best suited. Where should it be? What exactly do you need? See, I'm trying to focus you in already. Do you know what it is you want to do? Next, I would say, okay, you know you want to focus on plants. Maybe you want to focus on fruit trees. The second point is why? Why is it that you want to do that? Do you want to give a whole lot of fruit to a food bank? Do you want to have fruit like I did and raise an orchard, have an orchard, really so you can attract more birds? That was my why. I knew I wanted fruit. I knew I wanted an orchard. I knew I wanted diversity, but I knew it had to be a way of providing habitat and getting more wildlife. What's your why? Next, I'd say learn as much as you can about what you want to grow or what you want to raise or both. Learning. Why? You go, well, how deep in the details? You want to know what's involved in it. When I started, I didn't even know what a rootstock was. I didn't even know how a fruit tree is built. I didn't understand any of it. I just wanted to get out of the office. Yes, your why, get into it, get interested. If you have a hard time learning about it, maybe it's not for you. Or maybe you don't like the learning part as learning like you're doing now through a video. Maybe it's YouTube, maybe it's courses, whatever it is. If you don't want to learn, maybe you want to learn by doing, so you want to apprentice, you want to intern, you want to work with somebody, that's fine. Know how you like to learn, but if you have no motivation to learn about it, maybe you shouldn't even be thinking of that for the future. Start your nursery. You have a place, you're living somewhere, start at your place. You don't have a place, maybe you're in an apartment, start at family, can you do that? Or you have friends, maybe ask them if you could use a little piece of their property to start some plants. Worst case, they're left with a lot of plants, or you pull out most of the plants and you leave them with a gift of a whole bunch of plants. Start your nursery. It's probably the place you'll save the most money. Take 1,000 plants. It doesn't take a big space to grow 1,000 trees or shrubs. And give it an average value. If it's trees and shrubs, $10 each. What do you get? $10,000 of value for you to start your project. So get your nursery going wherever you are, wherever you're at. And the nice thing about a nursery is it's a ticking, not a time bomb, but it's a ticking clock. You can't leave your trees or shrubs there for 10 years. 2 years is kind of the limit. After 2 years, you better get going and find a place to plant them. So start your nursery today, but knowing that you have 2 years to find some place where you can then transplant them and get a good start to your project. Get 2 trios put in. You say, I do have a little bit of room. In this case, pear. What's a trio? Well, it's 1 nitrogen fixer and 2 fruit trees, or a fruit tree and a nut tree. That combination, get 2 of those started and you will start learning. You will have plants that you can then multiply. You can have plants for your nursery. You'll really get a good start. And you know what? You learn as much with 2 trios as if you had 2,000 trees. So start by getting those 2 trios in. They're the most important start for any of your projects about growing, and certainly growing fruit, and certainly growing in the idea of a permaculture orchard. If I had to start over again, I would place mother plants at friends, at families, in your own yard. Why? Because a mother plant is going to be the mother to many, many examples. I could take cuttings, I could take tip layering, I could layer plants, I could multiply them, but I have to have a plant that I could put this from, get these from. Maybe you say, I don't have friends, I don't have family, I don't have a place. Put them in a public area, plant them clandestine, be a rebel, and get some in a public area that you can then go back and you can get seeds from some plants. You can take cuttings. You're not taking the whole plant, you're just taking some cuttings. You're getting those plants established so you can keep coming back year after year and harvesting many examples. I say if you have a plant and it's a well-established mother plant, usually it takes 3 years and your plant is now big enough to take this plant, this currant, black currant. Looks like I could take 15 or 20 cuttings from one plant in one go. Well, if you could do that every year, you would be multiplying the number of plants you have by 10. And that's just such a nice strategy to get going, and get going quickly to increase. If I had to start over again, I really would have to answer one simple question. Are you growing these or raising these in the case of animals, or both? And is it going to be just for your own use? Are you going to say, I want to have all the pears I want, all the sheep I want? Okay, but is it for you or is it to sell? You want to decide that early on, because it'll make a huge difference on the scale of how much you'll need to plant or raise. If you say, I'm going to have 5 trees and I'm going to make a living off of it, probably not. So that's important. You want to know, is it just for you, or is it to make a living or to sell or to have a sideline? Whatever it is, decide early. Now you know what you want to raise, what you want to grow, you know why you want to, you know what it needs, and you've probably, hopefully, got a start on plants if it's plants. So now you want to find some land. Where are you going to do this? Where are you going to grow this? Finding land is, well, it's probably one of the biggest decisions of your life. What does the land look like? Well, if you've done your homework and you know what those plants, what those animals, what they are best on, what site would be best for that? If you said, oh, I want to have at least half of the area growing cherries, all right, and you say, yeah, and you know the land around here is really great, it's this heavy clay, I'd say, no, that's probably not great. We're on a beach sand, and if we let these plants grow on their own, we get invaded with cherries and grapes. That's what this land is best suited for. You have to find out, where is that land that is best suited to what you want to do or what you want to raise. Don't raise sheep where it's wet and it's a bottomland. You're going to have all kinds of disease problems with your sheep. Each animal, each plant has ideal and best sites. So now you can focus. Where are those sites that are best? How expensive are they? Where are they located? What is the weather like? What's the climate like where those sites are? If you say, yeah, I want to grow mango and I'm looking in a temperate climate, it won't work. So find out those things. Start your hunt. It's like a hunt to find land. You'll spend a lot of time searching, but you know what? In the end, it is one of the things that will make the biggest difference, because when you are ready to put your plants or your animals or both on that site, they will thrive there. Time versus money. Money versus time. Where are you on that continuum? If you're younger, probably you have more time, not as much money. As you get older, you should have more money, but not as much time. Ideally, you have the option of having the money and wanting to spend the time to learn. Look, whatever it is, be clear on what's your situation. I would have loved, when I started, to have had our master class. That's why I did it, to do the tool that I would have loved to have had. It would have been the best investment for the money that I could have done to really accelerate and expand my learning to get what I need to do to put in a permaculture orchard. Check out the masterclass at permaculture.study and start today for free. One part of our masterclass is observation, and observation is the first principle of permaculture. It's so important to understand how to observe. If we observe our site, and I didn't get this in the beginning, our site is perfect for cherries and grape. Basic observation would have been to have seen that and said, well, I should switch and do primarily focused on all kinds of cherries and all kinds of grapes. Why? Because you want to grow trees, shrubs, and raise animals that grow like weeds. Why? Because nothing is easier than growing a weed. Well, what do you do for a weed? You do nothing. That's why they're weeds. No watering, no fertilizing, nothing. You don't need to weed them. They're weeds. Well, that's what you want your trees, your shrubs, and your animals that you raise. They're just so happy in this place that they grow like weeds. So focus your observational skills on your land, on your property. What grows like a weed here? The next step I would have taken would be to model the design I want. Hey, I studied landscape architecture, I worked as a landscape architect, and the best tool that I ever came up with and saw and used was creating a model, much better than a plan, but just play with your design. Work with trios in the case of fruit trees, and just arrange them, rearrange them, simulate them, and get your imagination flowing with the possibilities. Because a model is so quick, so powerful, so forgiving, so able for you to just iterate and try things and imagine things and walk through your project, because it's a model. If I had to do it over again, would I use something like plastic, which is the most controversial, most detested thing that I associate with permaculture? Oh, you can't have plastic in permaculture. Well, it depends. Knowing what I now know, I hate maintenance. It doesn't make me any money. I don't get paid to maintain. So every time I'm doing maintenance, it's money or time out of my pocket or out of my life. Plastic, in the case of a permaculture orchard, has saved me so much time, and it's for the life of the orchard. It's a one-time application, but a lifetime of savings. So if you're gonna have over 200 trees, consider something like plastic with drip irrigation underneath, and automated, so you really have a very simple, low-maintenance system. If you're growing less than 200 trees, I don't recommend it. Because you could use wood chip mulch, you could use large plants like rhubarb and lots of perennials and fill the space. You could do that and you can maintain it. It's doable. But when you do acres, some of those practices are good for garden scale, but not for farm scale. So yeah, I would do it again because I love saving time and I'm not paid for maintenance. Planting. Trees don't start off being big enough to support your weight. You plant them, they're small. We planted, a lot of trees were 1 foot or 30 centimeters tall. Planting can take quite a bit of time. I would say get your friends, get your family, get those who you've gotten excited about your homesteading, your fruit growing, your farming, your animal raising journey, because you gather people on the journey with you. Get them together, organize a planting blitz. Hey, have pizza, have whatever you want that will gather people, and you know what? They will be glad most of the time to help you in your journey, to give you a boost, to get you started. 20 people in a day, 10 people in a day, planting for half a day is pretty well 5 days of work. And you can get a lot planted in 5 days of work. So get your group organized. Explain to them what you want to do. Have your area staked out. You use the model, then stake out your planting plan or how you're going to lay it out so that all they have to do is plug and play. Make it so simple that the kids will go, that's that label, it's green, that means that's going to be a green apple. Whatever your scheme, make it simple, get help, get organized, and have fun. It should be fun. It should be a joyous occasion. And make it memorable. Make it a marker. Maybe somebody had a birth or a death in the family, and give them a tree or allocate a tree to them in memory of that person. It's a great opportunity. You got something that a few years from now, the kids will be climbing your trees. Plant smaller trees, shrubs, and perennials. You know why? Because they have a smaller root ball and they catch a lot easier than a big plant with a big root ball that gets a lot of transplant shock. Plant small, and if you're planting with plastic, you have a smaller hole to make. The smallest hole possible is always best. If you're planting with mulch, then have your mulch ready, or ideally put your mulch a year before you're actually going to plant, so that when you open up, oh, that's beautiful soil under there. Plant, put the mulch around. Your plant is not going to stay small for long. Plant all the layers at one time. I didn't do that. We focused on planting the trees, and then it took a few years before we came back to plant shrubs and plant perennials. Well, you know what? I now would really recommend my young self plant all the layers, all the plants at one time, because your plants below your trees will get established fast, will fill the space, will cover ground. If you're not using plastic, even more important, they will cover the area and other things won't grow as easily underneath them. Just what you decide to put in will grow. The only one I would say to hold off on are vines, like grapes and kiwi. I would say wait a couple years for your nitrogen-fixing trees to grow and then plant your vines to give those trees a chance to get a little bit of height and grow above the vines. But for all the others, put them all in at once. Do a smaller area if you have to before expanding, but get it all done. Whatever you can do this year, do this year. Hey, Stefan, my young Padawan, here's advice that you should take to heart. When you're planting, don't wait a long time to add your structures for nature's allies. Get them in at the same time as you're planting. It's an important point because it takes nature a time to grow your plants, to grow your habitat, to grow your populations of allies. Get that in early. Get your population set up as your plantings grow, and by the time they begin to produce, then your populations of birds or insects are well established and they will solve so many problems. Hey, if you want to learn the fine details about the best nest box design, check out this video next.